on BBC One, Secret History.
Make 'em laugh, don't you know everyone wants to laugh?
Laughter has often been described as the best medicine. Clearly, in many cases, it literally isn't. But I think we have all experienced moments when a good laugh has improved our mood and helped us through those difficult moments in our lives. Such as unemployment, lack of self-confidence, or simply finding your wife in bed with your sister-in-law. During a number of dark months in my life, when homes under the hammer seemed to be my only friend, I started to think more about this magical act of laughing. I often found myself repeatedly watching YouTube clips of Gemma Collins falling on her face while ice skating. For some reason, this really cheered me up. So I asked myself some searching questions. Why do we laugh? What effect does it have on us, physically and mentally? In this episode of Secret History, not only will you discover the physiological truth about laughter, but you'll also learn how its power has been harnessed and utilized for unscrupulous, economic and political gain. I debated long and hard before releasing this documentary, and I thank the BBC for their unrelenting support. Human beings have walked the planet Earth for thousands of years. Throughout that time, we have used laughter as a natural antidepressant. Laughter, we were often told, is the best medicine. Even in cave drawings that date back 40,000 years, and Roman mosaics from 2000 years BC, this desire to be humorous, and thus induce laughter, is entirely evident. I wasn't entirely sure where to start, but surprisingly a brief internet search led me to a country not famed for its comedic history. Little did I know that in Munich, there is an entire university dedicated to the research and study of laughter. I spoke to the university dean, Mary Schittberger. I wanted to know her thoughts about laughter and how it impacts her life.
So, where do I begin? Germans are perceived as very serious and efficient people. Not really prone to chuckling. But in my house, the sound of laughter is the one our neighbors hear most. I, for example, will laugh at my husband, as he is quite small. He will then often laugh at me. Perhaps referencing mistakes I might, as a young girl. From the outside, this may look rather tense. Like a psychological battle between two enemies. The lines between happiness and suicidal depression are remarkably fine. Statistically speaking, of course. Like the difference between an average-size penis and my husband's smaller penis.
But what is it that makes humans laugh? Research suggests that a specific set of electronic signals occur in the brain, resulting in a neurological algorithm that creates the spontaneous reaction, otherwise known as laughing. These doctors in California managed to recreate this algorithm artificially, and used it to create liquid laughter. Ordinarily, these people would never laugh at work. Our science expert Tanya Lewis can tell us more.
Here's how it actually works. The frontal lobe of the brain is responsible for emotional responses. The left side of the brain is responsible for interpreting the words and the structure of a joke. The right side is responsible for identifying what makes it funny. And the limbic system is also important. This area includes the amygdala and the hippocampus and is involved in basic responses like fear or hunger. The motor areas of the brain become active, and these are the areas that actually produce the chuckle or the physical action of laughing.
Here, at the University of Laughter Studies in Munich, in 1982, Professor Franz Ferdinand VI produced a graphical representation of the path taken by a joke as it travels through the human brain. The video, although somewhat dated, provided a humorous and informative introduction into this difficult subject. It still remains relevant today. Unfortunately, Franz passed away 6 months ago, in a terribly tragic accident, which involved him roller skating under a bus while playing blind man's buff with his children. The irony of that incident has not been lost on any of us. We show his video as a mark of respect to his dedication to laughter studies.
Oh dear. My monthly bleeding is very heavy, and now the washing machine has packed up again.
Jesus Christ. Morgen.
Luckily, their British friend Peter popped by at just the right time. He told them a really funny joke.
I watched a documentary about beavers on Netflix yesterday. It was the best damn show I ever saw.
Wow. The words permeate the brain immediately, causing an electric current to form across the outer structure. The frequency of this current is measured on a scale. We call this scale the amusathon. The funnier the joke, the higher it registers.
Peter's joke is so funny. It hits top spot, and even causes our miserable couple to wet themselves a bit. So, now that the frequency has been determined, we know the joke will continue on its journey, with the aim of generating the sound we know as a laugh. Let's see where this incredible journey goes next. Hold on to your hats. This ride goes quick. Whoa! At this point, things get a little bit sexy and wonderful. The joke takes a trip into the world of eons and magic rockets, like some kind of Pink Floyd-like show. Because our joke is so funny, the current gets pushed to the premium side of the brain, in the right auditory center. Only the funny stuff gets to chill here. The shit jokes end up being dumped in the left auditory center. The last stage is the most important. Like an audition, the joke has passed every test so far, but now it meets the director, who works in the limbic system. The director will make the final decision. In this case, he puts his thumbs up and sends a special signal to the nervous system. And guess what? A massive laugh is produced. So, let's summarize. You and your wife are miserable as sin. Your best buddy tells you a great joke, and you piss yourself. Why? Because it became a high-frequency message to your brain, dummy. Because the joke is hilarious, the brain pushes the strong frequency that was generated to the right auditory center, with all the other good stuff that happens in your life. From there, the joke meets Alfred Hitchcock in the limbic system, and he says, "You've got the job. You gotta laugh."
However, I wondered why some people might find something funny, while others might wonder what on earth their partner is laughing at. My ex-wife, for example, was a big Jason Manford fan. I personally find him about as funny as shingles. We therefore decided to take this one step further. We gave a copy of Jason's most recent live DVD to a group of people in Switzerland. The Swiss are the most neutral humans on the planet. Where else could we get unbiased and substantiative evidence on the root cause of laughter? The resultant survey was extremely interesting.
Gehör habe ich.
Bei einer haben.
Was?
Sorry, nochmal?
Was?
Wie bitte?
Sorry. Was?
Meistens. Aber nicht immer.
Ja. Nein, überhaupt gar nicht.
Ja, ich, mein Mann nicht.
Ich schlafe ein bisschen wenig, aber... Ja.
Ja, mehr oder weniger für das Alter.
Ja, schon meistens.
Meistens schon, ja.
Eigentlich weniger.
Ja, das habe ich.
Ja, definitiv. Weil ich meistens zufrieden bin mit rundum so. Ja, und Ruhe haben im Schlafzimmer.
Wenn ich glücklich bin und mega müde.
Wenn ich den Frieden in mir habe.
Ja, keine Ahnung, wenn ich so vielleicht am Tag Sport gemacht habe und nachher ein bisschen kaputt bin.
Wenn ich mich entspannen kann vorher, wenn ich zum Beispiel noch ein Buch lese, bevor ich einschlafe.
Wenn ich weiss, dass ich nicht arbeiten am nächsten Tag.
Ja, wenn sie den ganzen Tag eine Bergwanderung gemacht haben und relativ viel aktiv sind körperlich, haben sie einen besseren Schlaf, als wenn sie bloß vor dem Fernseher hocken.
Wenn ich nicht noch an Sachen muss denken, wenn ich echt das Gefühl habe, es ist alles erledigt und alles gut.
Wenn der Vortag anstrengend ist, weil ich ab und zu einmal gerne glücklich bin und dann schlafe ich gut.
Wenn es rattert, so, oder ja, wenn ich etwas im Kopf habe, wo mir nachgeht.
Es ist einfach mit dem Alter, muss man auch nicht mehr so lange schlafen.
Mein Handy ist immer am Läuten.
Wenn ich einfach Gedanken nicht abschalten kann und immer noch denken, was muss ich am nächsten Tag wieder machen.
Wenn ich im Ausgang war.
Wenn mich etwas beschäftigen.
Ja, wenn du nächsten Tag weißt, dass etwas mega Wichtiges dran ist.
Ja, wenn du nervös bist, gell?
Ja.
Ja, voll, wenn man krank ist, dann kann man manchmal nicht pennen.
Eventuell, weil ich irgendwelche Unruhe in mir habe.
Wenn ich traurig bin oder Stress habe.
Wenn wir spät zu Nacht gegessen haben und ein bisschen mehr als eine Flasche haben.
Results from our survey were sent to the University of Laughter Studies in Munich for further analysis. We were denied access inside Campus 1A and were extremely shocked by the level of security that searched us. We were told the results of our survey would be provided to us in 1 week. We waited for 4 weeks, but nothing was received. When we contacted the university, they denied ever having received our data. Our producer, Mark Pollock, could sense something was wrong. We were being hoodwinked. To his great regret, Mark became extremely frustrated. It was 2 months later that I received a strange and sinister voicemail.
I have some information regarding your investigation into the source of laughter. If you want to know what terrible forces are at work in our society, come to the sexy boy bar in Soho tomorrow at 11 o'clock. This is a matter of life and death. So come alone.
I was intrigued. Much as I fully expected to be pranked, and likely wake up naked, in a gay brothel in handcuffs, part of me wanted to believe there was something more to this cryptic message. After a few pints of lager to build my courage, I entered the sexy boy bar, and tried to find my informant. It didn't take me long to realize I was in entirely the wrong bar. As I regathered my thoughts, and set off through the seedy streets of Soho, I realized that this was potentially a dangerous situation. After 2 hours of haphazard navigation, I finally arrived at my destination. This was more like it. A very kind Latin American man bought me a beer, and I explained that I was meeting someone. He took the beer back, and left. I felt like the odd one out. No one else was wearing a tie. A few moments later, I felt a sharp tug on one of my earlobes. I'd found my man. The informant introduced himself to me as Jolly Peter. Obviously this wasn't his real name. I introduced myself as Mickey Blue Eyes, mainly because I like that movie. Unfortunately, Jolly Peter already knew my real name. To my great surprise, the owner of the club allowed patrons to book some of the rooms in the basement by the hour. This was very handy. I set up my camera, and what happened next is simply unbelievable. My informant decided that Jolly Peter might be a complete giveaway to his close friends. I decided he would therefore be known as Anonymous Member 1. I opened up the interview, asking Anonymous Member 1 what he meant in his strange voicemail. Anonymous Member 1's voice has been modified to protect his identity.
Well, motherfucker, let me tell you this. There's one whole motherfucking master plan going down across the globe. And every motherfucking government is in on the secret. You know what I'm saying?
I firstly asked Anonymous Member 1 to try and refrain from constantly swearing, as it limits the options for serializing the documentary. He said he would do his best. Anonymous Member 1 then decided that his hairstyle and face shape might be recognized. Luckily, there was a young man in the next room to us, who had some spare clothes. Anonymous Member 1 decided he needed a new identity, before we could continue.
Listen, man. Governments are keeping us happy, by pumping laughing gas into the atmosphere. The air we breathe. Well, it ain't just oxygen. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying that governments are force-feeding laughter to us, through the air that we breathe?
Damn right, motherfucker. And they've been doing it for years. It's the great capitalist drug, man. London, Paris, Hong Kong, Munich. Those motherfuckers want us all to be happy. 'Cause happy people behave. Happy people spend their money on shit they don't need. That keeps the money flowing. Which keeps the taxes growing. You know what I'm saying?
At this point of the interview, the door to our room burst open, and two large transvestites told us our time was up. For a second, I thought they were going to kill us, but they simply pointed out that we had only booked the room for 15 minutes. Anonymous Member 2 completely freaked out. Before fleeing the room, he gave me a folder, and told me that everything I needed was in it. He told me never to contact him again. As I didn't have his name or number, I felt it was easy to agree. The two large transvestites were actually very friendly, and gave me a black bin liner for me to place the folder in. I couldn't bring myself to read it straight away. Plus the transvestites were getting impatient. I ran back to the car park, and made my way home. All sorts of thoughts were racing through my mind. Was Jolly Peter playing a terrible joke on me? Will the folder change everything I believed about modern society? Once I was home, I suddenly felt a sense of fear and paranoia, along with relentless anticipation. I spent the next 8 hours poring over every document. The more I read, the more nervous I became. I had the opportunity to reveal the biggest cover-up in world history. Jolly Peter was right. The project was called GUFF4. All the nations on Earth, except Russia and China, had agreed to fund the research and implementation of a gas called GUFF4. This gas is odorless and can be easily aligned with basic oxygen. But its effect is astonishing. Along with the paper documents, Jolly Peter had also included a memory stick. The footage I'm about to show you is somewhat disturbing. I had to stop the film here. The scenes beyond this point were too graphic and disturbing to show. One man laughed so much, his eyes fell out. Another man became so hysterical, he ate his own hand. But it didn't stop there. There were also several audio files on the memory stick. Transcripts of conversations with some of the most powerful men and women on the planet.
So, Mr. President, how much do you think this little secret will add to the world economy?
Billions and 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 billions.
The file contained photocopies of orders and invoices relating to GUFF4. Almost every country on Earth was part of the plan. I even found an order from Luton Civic Hall, which coincidentally matched the exact date of Jason Manford's live concert there. I felt sick to my stomach. But the big question now was, what should I do with this information?
Billions and 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 billions.